important phenomenon, starting from multinationals and public offices, and even including individuals as well that have been adopting this technology. Much more is that we have seen as good impact blockchain have done in terms of environment, for the economy, and also for the mining industry. And in of this benefit of blockchain generally, Africa is not lacking. I mean, Africa has gone way back, has been doing several interesting things when it comes to blockchain technology. And at the heart of this here in Africa, even though, I mean, the government in Africa and other people are trying to adopt it and also trying to come up with a good regulatory framework, and all that, trying to also stay aloof to try to understand how technology is going to be beneficial to them and also for the continent at large. So at the heart of this are the young professionals and young people that are doing interesting and amazing projects and programs in terms of blockchain on the continent. And amongst these young folks are the students. You know, our students are now at the brightest mindset right now, and they have been creating several interesting, sustainable projects here for the continent. So here's what gave back to the idea of the campus blockchain hackathon, which aims to engage students across Africa to onboard them on the blockchain technology itself. And for the campus blockchain hackathon, due to numerous submissions across the continent that want to join us on this hackathon program, especially now that we have the initial batch, we have numerous people. We now segment the project into 3 areas. So we have the country level, the regional level, and also the continental level. For the country level, we have 54 countries across the continent. So we have people competing among themselves in the country. So there we're able to select the best winner amongst them that will move forward to join the regional level. For regional level, we have folks on the Northern African region, the Western African region, the Southern African region, and also the Eastern African region. That's the second level of the hackathon program, where we get to have people from that area to compete amongst themselves. So now we are having this week, we have the final one, which is the continental. So we have each winner across all of those regions that are competing for the continental championship, which is very important, that brought us to the grand final celebration that we're having here today. Today, we are going to really get to know about interesting individuals that have been doing stuff since February as far as blockchain is concerned, and they want to really show us amazing work they have been doing so far since February. And joining us again here today, we have amazing speakers across the world to give us insight on several topics that I've discussed here today. So I would like to welcome everyone again to this program, and let's have a very fruitful deliberation. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you all for gracing our grand finale event, and it's an honor for me to invite you all. I recognize the presence of the Rwandan government officials, ABI team, Freeton Network members, moderators, and guests. Welcome, everyone. Let me start by stating that we wish to have held a physical event, but due to COVID-19 restrictions, that was not possible, hence this online event. Having said that, I will give a short brief on our journey to today's final. Personally, when I started the journey into blockchain space, I didn't know what to expect. And right there, I started as usual to search for the challenges. Having a job description of dealing in corporate challenges at my previous station, there was a quick realization of the need to educate and support the general public in opportunities within the blockchain space. The rest is history, as they say. Having that in mind, ABI and Freeton Network muted the idea of a hackathon to integrate our university youth into real work environment. Freeton Network gladly supported the idea and agreed to sponsor this event. The success of each stage of this journey has been very impressive, and as such, Freeton Network has been with us each step along the way. ABI, on the other hand, has offered exemplary leadership in the course of the hackathon. And special thanks to Mr. Coyote and his team. The Freeton team has also contributed immensely, and as such should be commended too. So today marks the final stretch of our first Freeton-sponsored ABI Campus Hackathon that began in the last quarter of 2020. In the course of the last 6 months, the progress has been tremendous, and today we crown the winners of this hackathon. Subsequently, those that did not make it to the final, kindly note that we have another hackathon coming up immediately after this one. In addition, we have Freeton Academy that is ready to offer guidance in an online class-like setup for future candidates and the general public as well. I'm also proud to say that this exercise has brought out the best in terms of organization, talent, integration of our continent's best brains into the blockchain space. With those few remarks, I wish to welcome everyone to the grand finale, and I hope you shall enjoy the success of this event in which we are all proud of. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll have Coyote introduce the keynote speech.
I'd like to introduce our very foremost partner from Africa Leadership University, Benusha, the Compton faculty from Africa Leadership University, to give us the keynote on today's program. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Coyote. Good morning, everyone. So can I share my screen, please?
Yes, please.
Hello, everyone. Good morning again. I hope I'm loud and clear to all of you. So I'm Benusha, as Coyote introduced, computer science faculty from African Leadership University. I'll be delivering the keynote for the day. Being an expert in systems programming or operating systems, I'm a tech enthusiast as well, just watching the space of blockchain technology. And here I am, delivering the keynote. So today I'll be talking about how we can, just march towards the digital transformation through blockchain technology. Though it is slow and steady, it may take years to come, but what can we do about it? That will be the focus of the keynote. And just speaking about the collaboration that we have with African Blockchain Institute, I'm really glad that ABI has its presence in Rwanda and a partnership with us, so that our students, right from the year 2 or year 3, they are mastering those skills that is needed for the early adoption of these blockchain technologies. Once they graduate, they'll be out there not being trained, but they will have their entrepreneurship skills being utilized in the blockchain industry. Okay, having said that, let me just move to the agenda that I have for my keynote speech for 20 minutes. So I will briefly go through these points, because as I said, I know I'm a tech enthusiast and I am watching the space as I do my research in the background, and what is my overview on the blockchain industry and its relevance in Rwanda and in the continent and across the world, and what we should be doing. So first one will be the power of blockchain. You being the blockchain experts, I need not go through what blockchain is all about. But this is the overview of why this is so powerful, why this is being hyped. It is because of the decentralization, the distributed ledger technology, the cryptographic security, the hashing that is being used, the immutable transactions. That is my favorite part, because currently, even though it is digitized and it is centralized, and there is by very good means that everybody can come and alter your records. That is not possible with having various domains and having transactions there, and the attraction of the mutual consensus agreement. So all the parties participating in this blockchain transactions have to agree on adding or removing information from the blockchain. So this is what makes it powerful and what makes it different from the current centralized, digitized domains. Moving to the second attraction, right? When a novice, when a normal person who is not serious, who's not techie, is asked about, do you know what is a blockchain? They may not understand, but the first thing that all of us might end up telling them is that, hey, imagine you're transferring something from A to B, some amount of money, and what you do is you log, even though it is digitized, what we do nowadays is like We log into our net banking, we log into our mobile banking, we transfer, but who has to approve? There is a central agents, right? And there has been talk about the role of central banks in this, and this is from the finance industry, right? But in blockchain, what that attracts most is that we don't have that trusted third party in the middleman there. That is completely canceled out, and you can have a peer-to-peer transaction being recorded in the blockchain ledgers. But again, maybe 4 years or 5 years back, if I was asked about blockchain, I would have confused blockchain with Bitcoin because that was the popularity. But this blockchain technology is beyond cryptocurrencies, is what all techies have to understand, though they are not from the blockchain industry or want to enter the industry. So these are some of the domains that I wanted to highlight where digital transformation can take place and which are beyond cryptocurrencies, beyond finance, or beyond digital coins or crypto coins. The first one, I being from the education sector, I have put education at the first. How about our certificates, even at ALU? Why can't we think about providing certifications or the degree certificates using the blockchain technology in background, right? We have to be pioneers in that, and we are setting role models like that. And as well, I being a master's in some education, I'm internationally, working internationally. I being from India, I'm coming to Rwanda. There are certain limitations in verifying what is the educational background that I'm coming from. And the degree that I get from an Indian university may not be the same from an African university. So there is a difficulty in verifying the authenticity of the international degree certificates. So why not have it based on blockchain? And that will help us, verifying the authenticity of those educational degree certificates. Yeah, that is something to think about. I have not yet, but, partnering with ABI, you can, in future think about this. Coming to the next category, the hot topic nowadays, like the vaccine supply chain. So we know various countries are manufacturing vaccines, but it becomes difficult to verify the vaccines and the source of it. And if I'm getting a vaccine, if I'm getting Pfizer or Moderna, I want to know, I want to verify the source of that vaccine, because there has been reports that the vaccines in production may not be genuine, or not sure, people are not sure, right? There are trust issues with the current supply chain, and blockchain can help solve that. The another one is the health record management system. Every hospital being an individual entity and not really tied to the governance part, because it can be a private hospital, and why don't keep the patient health records in a blockchain? That will help you to actually historically analyze the data, and not having a centralized database for that, as that is right now. Next is the travel and transportation. I read an interesting article about, we all do international travels, and what we have to do is having to check in at every airline counter, have your identity checked, have your bags checked at every gate that you go in. So why not avoid it? Or you have connection flights. Anytime you want to go to the next airport, you need to go through these check-ins every time. So why not streamline it using blockchain? Right? Something to think about. I'm sure the enthusiasts out there, the students out there, have already thought about their hackathon topics, and maybe it may be related to all these. And next one is the asset management, the real estate being the popular, the land disputes. Sometimes people or the government authorities may not be able to verify the historical transactions done on a particular property and to evaluate that land dispute and settle it. So blockchain is again another solution for that. And coming towards the end is e-governance. At times, all these sectors can be tied to e-governance when it is directly related to government institutions. And but in my opinion, with all the policymakers and government, the policymakers watching the space should actually have some proof of concept coming in from all these industries to confidently take it up and apply it in the e-governance, because it largely applies to a wider audience than all these individual sectors. And yeah, there are many more. This is not it. I just had space for 5. So there are many more, and you know it. Yeah, and coming back to the successful case stories, I'll start from Rwanda, the mining industry. So we have partnerships with the blockchain industry to comply with the European Union conflict mineral regulation. The other one is the supply chain systems. And this one, I took the examples from UAE or the US, where for a customer to actually check, if you're buying a grocery or something, just to check what is the source, from where it came. So Walmart enabled that, and they were able to trace the source of individual mangoes back to the farm in 2.2 seconds. Isn't that interesting? It could be in the form of a QR code being scanned, and you just know from where it came from which farm, which date, when was it reaped, etc. The another diverse one is the e-voting technology. So there has been claims from Bottoms that they have successfully done e-voting, and there are articles or researchers based on that e-voting may not be that's secure in blockchain, but that is up for debate. But there are many more. Okay, I have just put in from 3 of them from various geos, just to highlight that, hey, things are happening, and it is yet to happen. And coming to the favorite slide of mine for today is that change is constant, be it blockchain, be it any other tech coming in. But if there is a resistance, I would say deal with the resistance. And this is my overview of how to deal with resistance. It's about, blockchain is a very good technology. It has its own power. It has its own disadvantages in terms of scalability, or the power, or the energy, the level of energy consumption for actually the mining part. But what we should be doing is find relevant problems that blockchain can help solve, as in the domains that I was explaining. And the second one is analyze the need of our, how to gain the popularity in blockchain technology. Speaking of COVID, right? If we can talk about how blockchain technology helped support any governments or any kind of sectors to deal with the COVID-19 restrictions, or the vaccination supply chain, whatever it is, right? So if we have a successful solution that is based on blockchain, and it is going to help people in these tough times, then that is where we can gain trust and momentum, and that can be a proof of concept by itself. So it's about creating more tangible blockchain success stories. And I would say that I read about blockchain being disruptive, not disruptive, but I would say that it is not disruptive. But what, as a community, we should try to do is that we should prove that it is interoperable. It is interoperable. Sorry, I'm getting a sound. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. So I was saying that in my opinion, blockchain is not disruptive, but the only thing is that we have to prove to the world, to the governments, that it can be interoperable with the current digitized models. So just create small-scale role models for the policymakers, just to vision the power of blockchain. And this was my favorite slide of the day. I hope you enjoyed. You being the blockchain experts, and I being a tech enthusiast, I was just trying to create that connection. And thank you so much for listening to me, and all the best, Coyote and team and pre-turns. I hope and I wish to see the finale competition topics, and very exciting and waiting forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Binish. That's been an excellent presentation, I must say. And really, I believe and agree with you that blockchain in terms of application really is where, as you would say, the rubber meets the road. And if we can't break this technology down to the simplest definition in terms of its application to our communities, then it's going to remain something that's just out there, or something that people can't really connect with. But through a platform like this with the hackathon, and really appreciative, this is just speaking in heavy appreciation for the ALU, for Freeton Network, every sponsor, every participant that's been part of this. We are collectively sharing a message that the future of blockchain is here. We are doing something about it. We are building, we are connecting, and we are bringing this reality to our communities. So once again, thank you so much for that. Now, right next up, we are going to have the panel discussion, and just keeping in appreciation by the introduction from the Executive Director, Coyote, and also from John. Thank you so much. I hereby now just welcome our attention to the panel discussion. And this will be specifically on the projection of blockchain development in Africa. They will cover key issues, challenges, and themes that they feel are relevant for this time. And therefore, I will happily ask our panelists, Sonia John, Desiree, Iman, and Alexandra Filatov to unmute as they unmute their mics and turn on their videos as they just come to the stage. Are you all ready and present?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. I can see you. I can see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right. So,
well, first of all, congratulations
yes.
congratulations to the Africa Blockchain Institute for this amazing journey with the hackathon. It's been great, and really looking forward to the final and the awards later on today. What we wanted to do on this panel is to build on the previous keynote presentation and go a little bit deeper, and also into the specific applications for Africa, into where blockchain is today, and importantly where it's going. And let me very quickly introduce our amazing panelists today. So we have Sonia John, who has been a senior blockchain developer with some amazing stories, and you'll hear a couple of them today on her way from basically starting from scratch and then going all the way to the highly sophisticated development. We have Iman Hiravi. She heads up the blockchain community in Egypt, and she's a DEF CON 5 scholar, alumni of the Ethereum Foundation. So pleasure to have you. And we have Desiree Nzengu, who is an engineer and innovation technology specialist, and a very respectable advisory board member at the Africa Blockchain Institute. So welcome, guys, and without losing a lot of time, let's take it from there. As we all know, and we just heard that blockchain is here already, and it's taking a lot of shape. There are a lot of developer tools coming up. That's something that we very much focus on at Freeton. And as we saw recently, blockchain manifested itself in a couple of big hype waves that are seen even outside of the space. One was around DeFi, decentralized finance, and the other one more recently was about NFT tokens that are kind of changing landscape in quite a few industries as well, and are attracting a lot of attention to the industry as well. So let's maybe kind of focus a little bit on that, on what's happening today. Maybe we can start, Sonia, from your inspiring story, which is one of my favorite ones.
Thank you, Alexander. It is an absolute honor to be here. Thank you so much, Africa Blockchain Institute, for inviting me. I think it was actually a very great presentation by Vinusha. I think she covered a lot of the things about blockchain, what makes it unique, what makes it a very appealing technology. But I think I would like to cover the one part that she kind of skipped over, which is how a lot of people will get into blockchain, which is through digital currency, especially since that is how I got into blockchain and Web3 as well. because in multiple countries, I think all over the world, in Africa as well, we're seeing an increase in government policies that are leading to different kinds of economic crises all over the place. We're seeing a record number of currency devaluation happening, hyperinflation, maybe even the most common of all, which is theft by inflation, which is the most preferred form of taxation for most governments. And this is exactly what happened, in my country, South Sudan, and kind of bearing that brunt of what hyperinflation and how the failure of some government policy, especially centralized government policies, can lead to the destruction of an entire country. It's interesting to note that without a certain pushback on this corruption and unchecked borrowing and indiscriminate taxation, that a lot of people will then look for digital currencies like blockchain and Ethereum and maybe others as the alternative store of value, for a lot of people in the next few years. But I think besides seeing an increase in that adoption of this technology, there's a lot of other use cases, like you rightly mentioned, DeFi, NFTs. But I think there's also another area that I am very interested to see how it will kind of grow over time, which is the opportunity for people for providing digital identities for millions of people who have been locked out of several economic activities for not having national identification, because we're seeing companies like, for example, FlexFlix ID, which is generating digital identities for close to 5 million people. And what this is doing is kind of giving them access to markets that they did not have originally. So it's something that's also happening in my country, because a lot of people do not have access to national identity, so they cannot get Visa cards, so they cannot participate in certain market economies. But with a blockchain or decentralized identity, they're suddenly able to participate in all kinds of economic activities that they did not have access to beyond that. But I think personally, I usually say beyond these singular use case examples of this technology, every day we're seeing an increase in the number of companies that are actually exposed to blockchain, because a lot of us certainly realize and recognize that the markets, the solutions that will stand out in the market will be the solutions that will be trustless, permissionless, and distributed.
Thank you, Sonia. That's amazing. I'm totally on the same page. I think digital identities is one of the next big things in the blockchain, and very relevant to normal people, and also very relevant, particularly in Africa. Let's talk a little bit about NFT. Eman, if you could take that one and talk to us a little bit about what you see and what's coming.
My pleasure. Thanks, Alex, for your nice introduction. Thanks for inviting me to join this panel. I'm so honored to be here with you. Before talking about NFT, I would love to start with a brief introduction. So if any one of the attendees, it's first time to hear about an NFT, we could be on the same page. Basically, NFT is a unique digital representation of an asset on the blockchain network. This asset could be a physical asset or a virtual asset. To help to simplify the difference between NFT, which stand for non-fungible token, and fungible token, I would love to start with a basic example. If I came to you, Alex, and asked you to borrow me $10, and just for one day, and the next day I came to you and returned back this money for you, the only thing you are caring about is the amount of money. You don't care about if I return back the exact money or a different paper money, different count. At the end, you are caring about the amount of money returned to you. But if I came to you and asked you to borrow me your cat or your car, I cannot return another cat or another car. It's unique. So I have to return back the exact car or the exact cat. In this case, the cat or a car represent a non-fungible token, but as I have mentioned, it's digitally on the blockchain. In my opinion, NFT is the future of ownership. And it could be used in not only for digital works or collectibles, it could be used in different fields, including copyrights, certificates, tickets, for influencers, and so. Currently, we see that NFT is a very hot topic. Everyone is talking about NFT. Every minute you hear about NFT, and maybe this because especially after Jack Dorsey has sold his NFT, his first tweet in Twitter for $2.9 million. And Mike Winkleman has sold his artwork for $69.3 million. And in my opinion, I can classify people who are passionate or and enthusiasts about NFTs in two categories. The first category is crypto traders or crypto investors who see that this trading NFT has lots of profits. And the second category is people who see that NFT could solve a problem. It could be used to build a very innovative solutions, especially after COVID-19, not only for tech people, but also for non-tech users like artists, like content creators, like influencers, and so. And now lots of VCs actually are investing in NFTs, especially marketplace. OpenSea, for example, one of the most famous marketplace NFT for NFTs. Last month has raised about $23 million. And in my opinion, the hype of NFT for artwork now and collectibles, but sooner we will see lots of interest in NFTs that manage copyrights and which is focused on influencer and so on. And yeah, I hope I could cover everything.
Fully agree with you, man. Thank you for an excellent kind of quick and very focused pitch on NFT. Desiree, would you like to do the same on DeFi? Just talk to us, where we are and where you think the space is hidden.
Yes, I can do my best. About DeFi, actually, to be honest, initially, I've been actually looking at things related to DeFi for a while, but I just don't know that it was called DeFi. It seems like it's a term that has been coined recently. And then some people also thought that while there is DeFi, then there should be CeFi. What I've realized is that basically DeFi for many people is financial technologies put on the blockchain. But the beauty is that from the time Ethereum, dApps, and MakerDAO, and many other key actors in DeFi have started operating, this term was not known as it is nowadays. So I'm going to try at least to break it down to the most basics. We have fintech, which is technology applied to financial solution, which is a sector and industry. Whether you are a startup or company and you're building something that has that is putting together technology for financial purpose, you're working on the fintech sector. And within this, most of the systems are currently centralized because, well, they are built on the current technologies that we're using and love. But the drawback is that they are centralized, as I mentioned earlier, which means that they are permission system. You need to have the authorization of a middleman or a central authority for proceeding to transaction. A practical case is, for example, if I want to transfer some money from a country in Europe to a country to Rwanda, for example, or Central African Republic, it will take not only weeks, not only days to get there. It will cost up to 30% of the amount that I'll be sending to the country. So you have to think about that. I mean, you want to send 100 euros or $100 to your family elsewhere, and you have to plan for about $130 minimum as part of the cost that you'll be paying for it. And there is no reason whatsoever to justify that. because Ethereum nowadays allows for transaction to happen as, I mean, I wouldn't say at the speed of light, but pretty fast. But because the centralized systems, which have been coined sci-fi, are still operating on old, outdated backend system, despite having a beautiful and sleek UI, we believe that what stands in front of our eyes when we're using Robinhood or our bank application is as powerful as what stands in the backend. But the reality is that backend or centralized systems are still coded very often with old programming languages like COBOL or maybe Pascal. My father was an engineer, and when he was a student in the 60s, he learned COBOL. This is still the same language that builds this backend system. So now we're coming to DeFi, which is putting the decentralization and advantages of distributed computing system into these financial technologies. It's digital native from the beginning. It allows to have a permissionless system, trustless, and I want to be clear about the term trustless. Trustless doesn't mean that you cannot trust the system. It means that you don't need to trust a middleman or a central authority to proceed to the validation of a transaction that you're running on the system, which skips the need to have all of these fees that we're paying along the way at every checkpoint for no reason whatsoever. It enables faster speed of transaction. You don't need to wait weeks to have that money transferred to your family. It enables for you to deal directly with the counterpart that you're doing the transaction with. And that's just one application of DeFi. Fact is that you can use DeFi, so decentralized financial technologies, for much more than just sending money to each other. Everything that involves payment system, transaction, whether it's a marketplace, whether it's a parking system, this involves a transaction, the transfer of money, coins, whatever you want to call it, to each other counterparts. And if it involves a component of trust that if it involves a component of trust and that you would like to not have to deal with someone else's authorization to validate a transaction, then DeFi is, I think, a go-to. We'll talk a little bit later about the opportunities that DeFi brings to our economies and what I think could be very relevant to the African context. But in my opinion, DeFi is just the start. We like too much the labels, I think. Let's put it aside and let's just focus on at least what it does and where is the value that it brings to the customer. And then we'll be discussing on the practical cases that we can be using for this DeFi.
Great, thank you very much, Desiree. That's very inspiring as well. And let's just take a few minutes to talk about the developer tools that are kind of shaping up in the space and coming up. There is new stuff coming up every day. And I think developer tools in blockchain are catching up. We're still a little bit far away from, let's call it IT at large, but there is a lot of progress in the space. And the reason it's important is because it all starts from developers. The more developers there are, the more applications there are, the more infrastructure there is, and it can be like a snowball. Why don't you spend a few minutes to talk about what's available, what's your practical experience, and maybe some advices that you can give to the audience around that. Sonia, do you want to start?
Sure. And I actually like this question and maybe the implication of the conversation that we will have as a result of it, because like you've rightly mentioned, the space is still developing. The competencies for success, especially with regards to the tools, are not yet set in stone. So the kind of changes that we're seeing, especially for frameworks and libraries, and even the kinds of identity integration solutions that are available for developers, are increasing by the day. But personally, I found that some of the ones that we've had from the beginning that have had a chance to kind of optimize over time are always the best place for anyone who wants to get started with blockchain development. Best place to start as any. For example, if you're looking for good wallet integrations, I would recommend using maybe Mist or MetaMask or maybe even my Ether wallet. Obviously not an advertisement, it's just that I have found, it's easier to kind of work around maybe identifying people on your blockchain using wallets that they have keys to, as opposed to being a custodian. But that's also a decision that app developers have to make when they're making, when they're defining the architecture or the infrastructure of their solution. But there's different types of frameworks and libraries that are also available. For example, Truffle and Embark, which are Ethereum frameworks. And also because I'm the current steward for IPFS Africa, I always like to invite people to come and join us. So if you're looking for best places to start using IPFS or Filecoin, you can always start with Textile, which provides a good Lotus node that comes with IPFS and Filecoin to kind of help you store your data for the applications that you're building. Or you can even use IPFS Desktop, which requires very minimal technical expertise to use. And if that is a step too far, you can also choose to use IPFS on browsers like Brave and Opera Mini. But beyond that, I think there's also the option of blockchain as a service solutions like Microsoft Azure. It's a good place to start for someone who doesn't yet know all the different languages to write smart contracts in, or is just used to working in this kind of environment. You can just always check out the different packages that are available on Microsoft. But I think beyond that, it also depends on the kind of development you want to do. So if you want to be, say, a protocol developer, if you want to be a app developer, there are different things that you need to kind of familiarize yourself with before you kind of dip your toes into that. So for example, if you want to focus on protocol development, you might have to familiarize yourself with the Ethereum virtual machine, for example, or maybe even WebAssembly basics, or even understanding how state machines work and how the UTXO account models work. Which is also something that you might have to consider as a app developer. But in this instance, you might be more persuaded to look at solutions that are promoting a lot of cross-chain collaboration, for example. Composability is a big thing in our space. We want to make solutions that can work across different networks. So languages like Reach, which are being developed to kind of help developers to build applications for any blockchain. I think those are awesome tools to kind of look out for.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Desiree, Eman, you want to jump in for a couple of minutes on your experience, and then we move over to the most exciting part, the future in Africa.
Yeah, I would love to mention that if you are interested in joining this field, you don't have to be a developer. As a UX, a developer who write codes. If you need to build on top of what you already know. If you are a web developer, you can start to be a app developer. If you already know the low-level languages like C++ or Python or so, you can be a app developer like Sonia has mentioned. If you came from UX and you love to design, you can design, and there is a need for UX designer in blockchain because one of the most challenging point in blockchain now is providing a better user experience to reach the mainstream adoption. Also, if you don't want to be a developer, there are lots of opportunity to join the space from as an entrepreneur or as in media or the legal part. Lawyers has a big role in this domain. So it's not only, yes, this panel is talking about the development, but if you are not a developer, you don't have to take you don't have to shift your career to be a developer in order to join this new evolution. As I would love to say, it's not revolution, it's evolution of the internet. Thank you so much.
And maybe just to complement what Iman just said, and first of all, actually, I would like to thank very much the panel for being so tech savvy and also diverse. You realize that there is up to now until, thanks for Throne to be part of this adventure, but we are lacking representation and diversity in the ecosystem. So the more, the merrier. And that's why every African person or beyond who are listening to this discussion and feels that blockchain, beside being or already being the next big thing, could be technology, a system that can radically change the way we're operating, upgrade our outdated system, remove the need for middlemen, and accelerate some of the processes. You can work on both the tech part, the business part, the strategy part. You don't need to be a programmer to get into it. You can learn along the way the basics. You can build upon what you already know. Python, JavaScript, C++, all of these languages are already applied in the traditional computer science realm. So you can just learn the frameworks, work with partners, build, test, and on top of that, being an advocate for the use of blockchain in every sectors where you see value beyond the pure cryptocurrency benefit, because at the end of the day, cryptocurrency, like fiat, it's about money, but within money should be a value. What is the value that you want your user and customer to benefit from?
Thank you very much, guys. There are a couple of interjections that I want to make. The first one, as we kind of already said, is the blockchain technology is catching up on performance, things like throughput, speed, latency, finality, and pretty much closing the gap versus centralized IT, which means which existed with Bitcoin, for example, as we all know, with the block being formed in 10 minutes, and a lot of limitations around user experience around that. So that's kind of one point. It means that there are more and more use cases that can be now built on top of the blockchain without compromises on user experience in terms of speed, for example, in the B2C cases. So that's kind of one angle. And the other angle is, I think what happened in China with the revolution about, fintech, where, they basically jumped through a couple of IT generations and it became one of the most sophisticated, advanced fintech nations. I think for Africa, blockchain offers kind of the same opportunity to transcend a couple of generations, and help solve issues around lack of banking infrastructure, very poor banking infrastructure. So with those two things in mind, what's the future? Where are we going? What can specifically happen in Africa? Let's inspire our audience. Sonia, you want to start?
Yes, I can most definitely start because this is exciting, thinking about the future. It's anything but dull, especially if we continue developing these solutions and the leaps and bounds that we've seen over the last 5 years. And one example that I usually like to give in this scenario is how the explosion of the use of decentralized storage could be revolutionary or evolutionary, as Iman says, for Africa, in the sense that, first off, we have been accustomed to the use of centralized storage for a long time. It's how most people were introduced to the internet, and some people cannot imagine what the internet would look like without centralized storage solutions. But what we're trying to build with, say, Filecoin and IPFS, which is a decentralized storage protocol, is a way to incentivize people to not just provide storage, but to make it a marketplace where people who have data that they want to store in a private, trustless, permissionless way can do that. And one of the ways that I see this kind of building out as we go along is, for example, incentivizing miners to run their storage solutions on clean energy solutions, for example, which will solve the problem of, say, energy production on the continent, which has been lacking for decades now. And although we're still trying to catch up with the rest of the world, we're still a long way to go. So if we can find ways of incentivizing, for example, people who want to run decentralized storage solutions to compound that with the use of clean energy solutions, then we find that we have kind of, kill two birds with one stone, in the sense that we'll be able to provide energy for a lot of people who currently do not have access to, say, electricity, and we'll be able to get people to store their data in a decentralized fashion.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Iman, do you want to continue? Take it from there?
Yes, sure. Because for NFT, I believe that Africa has lots of opportunity in NFT, and we need to leverage it. We need, as African, we need to we need tools to access the digital economy, which especially after COVID-19 and which affected our life badly and our economic badly. I just imagine that Africa, with all the resources that we have lots of lots of talented in this continent. If we this talented is not only developers, we have entrepreneurs, we have content creators, we have artists, we have musicians, lots of things. If we could, if you just imagine with me, we could build a solution that let a woman, a single mother, or a breadwinner woman, which is, for example, she is an artist, author, a craft worker, to let her to build, to sell her artworks and get and make money while she's caring, taking care of her child at her home. And not only that, we could throw NFT, we could throw if we provide a reality program, for example, we could let this woman to make money, sustainable revenue for her with every artwork sold from the new owner to the next owner and so on. And this will help us create lots of innovative solutions, and we as an African, aware of our strongest parts, we know that, we know also as well, we know our problem more than anyone else. And I want to just mention one important thing. I'm not saying that blockchain, I'm not coming here to sell blockchain for you. Blockchain is good, I know, but you have to consider that there are lots of challenges you have to take care of as a one who is providing developing a blockchain solution. You have to care of the regulation. Don't operate on a country which ban crypto, or target user where the country ban crypto. Also provide a solution with a better UX as much as you can, because at the end, the user, you want to provide a solution for you to use it. The user need to love the service you are providing, not to hate it. And also at the end, please solve a real problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Iman. And Desiree, I know you're passionate about kind of some game-changing solutions in traceability and logistics, and maybe some other areas. Can you talk to us about what you think is can be big?
Yes, absolutely. I think, to be quite straightforward, there are 2-3 areas that I know are currently ongoing in many African countries, specifically logistics, for example, in the context of the AfCFTA, African Free Trade Agreement, which is aiming to become a big thing pretty soon. There are, for example, application of blockchain that have potential in land registry. We know that showing ownership of land is quite challenging in many countries, not only African countries, but even in Italy, Spain, Portugal, even in developed European countries. These are challenges that people are facing on a regular basis. There is also healthcare that could benefit from such solution, because as Sonia mentioned, the identity challenge is facing many people, and the fact we have a technology that could provide them with that one single source of identity is, I think, an opportunity that we don't want to miss. Currently, I would say boldly, the technological development of my continent is usually subcontracted, or we are waiting for the level of expertise to be high enough for this solution to be implemented. But if we, in parallel of waiting for technology to be mature, we don't develop the capacity at scale from the start, we'll still be waiting for it in 10 to 20 years. So my suggestion will be that we already start building the capacity from the ground up. From now, we put it into practice. We do some test bed with partners. We don't expect the change to come from the top, but we try to implement it from the bottom as much as we can. And I believe that in the near future, we will go from being consumer to being producer, because at the moment we are very consumer, but we are not producer enough, I think.
Thank you very much, Desiree. With that, I would like to thank you, our panel participants. I think there were quite a lot of exciting and amazing insights coming from the panel, and there is more to come yet. And again, my congratulations to the Africa Blockchain Institute. You guys are doing an amazing job. And for the African Freetown community, John Canary and his team contributing. Thank you very much. And over to our great hosts.
All right, thank you so much for the insights, such powerful discussions going on, and thank you so much to each one of our panelists. Before we officially close the panel, I'd just like to ask the audience if you have any questions, just to please share them on the chat section, and also to keep the discussion going, especially on our social media pages. Before we introduce the next segment, I'll just ask the moderator, do you have a minute just for closing statements or any outstanding thoughts?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm trying to be very punctual. What triggered with me is that when a couple of times on this panel we mentioned that the space is not only for developers. I think that's a great point. Like we at Freetown community have about 120,000 people community that we see, and developers are a few part of that. There is tons of space for marketeers and, as mentioned, UI UX designers, for people who are good in social media. We're living in the world of digital. So welcome to the world of to the exciting world of distributed/decentralized technologies. That would be my 2 cents. Any mentions from Sonia or Desiree or Iman?
I think my closeout would be very similar to yours, which is that, I mean, the industry is still very early stages, and at this point, we need everyone to help us define what we picture as the decentralized web. So whichever way you can contribute, if you can build tools, apps, services, you do that. If you can teach others, if you can read complex technical concepts and synthesize them into simple ideas, and kind of communicate this back to people through trainings and workshops, then we definitely need you. And if you can do any of that, then just be a user, That's, I think, most of what we need, because if we don't have people using the services that we're building, then the revolution will not happen. So you can use all the platforms that we're building, get everyone to use them. And I think that we will actually bring about the world that we want to see.
For me, I share the same thoughts, insights, or notes you have mentioned, Sonia and Alex. And also, I would love to highlight a small one point, is that the blockchain community is a very supportive community. And if you are interested in the domain, just come and join this community and try to build the community, your local community. If you have already in your country a local community to join, where you can, like in the blockchain enthusiasts, can gather together and work together in a project, have a cool discussion together, can share their ideas. If you don't find this community, go and build and create it. Don't wait for someone else to build it for you. Education is very important. If you are caring about blockchain technology, this is not only for individual, but also for government. Education is the key for blockchain and everything. Thank you.
Desiree, closing thought, or we?
Yes, absolutely. I would tell a quick story of how we've done in Rwanda, for example. 2-3 years ago, I was working there, and at some point we realized with a couple of other friends/colleagues that the community of blockchain in Rwanda that started some years ago was kind of inactive and almost dying. So we decided to put together a group of people who would be interested in attending some discussions. We found partners who make the place a space available for us. At that time, it was some organization that was also active in some other technological sector. Then we ran a social media campaign online booked some, using Eventbrite and some other ticketing systems. So basically, long story short, we bootstrapped it, organized our first blockchain meetups after many years that this kind of event hasn't been happening. We've invited some technologists, some businesses, banks, and so on. And the first event attracted more than 100 people. Then we decided to do it on a bi-weekly basis. And up to today, the community is still existing. The meetups are not that active anymore due to, well, obvious pandemic, but the fact is that we revived that that focus, and it was pretty timely because in parallel, countries like Kenya, or most actually East African countries, are working on an emerging technology strategy that has a component of blockchain. Our objective is to start seeding the idea that such technology that is about to come and will have a big impact on the African continent can be also developed locally. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, but we need to have some local actors to see value in this, to put their technology, strategy, and brain matter into this project. And that is why don't wait for changes to come, make it happen if you can. It doesn't cost that much. You can reach out to local authorities, governments, public, private partners. You can train yourself, and we have on this panel people who are very talented, and I'm sure that they'll be willing to give their time to help you learn the basics. You have ABI, among others, but let's get things done, because it will be a pity that what has happened for the internet in the 80s happens also for blockchain, augmented reality, VR, AR, and so on for the African continent.
Thank you very much.
Interrupt. I have the same story, personal story, to start in blockchain. So I do support your story, Desiree. Yes, in Egypt here, this is how I get started in blockchain domain.
I think on this note, we can hand over to the hosts.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much to each of the panelists. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Desiree. Thank you, Iman. Thank you also to our very able moderator, Alexandra, I hope I said it right. So this has been an enriching session. And I think one overarching thought that I can take away from this is that the development of blockchain in Africa is not locked to software developers or to what you call the technical professionals, because if we give the analogy of a business, so to speak, a business just doesn't rest on the CEO. The visionary will definitely have a heavy burden at the beginning, just defining the business, vision casting, and just getting the business off the ground. But for the business to achieve its full potential, to become everything it needs to be, it needs the community, it needs the team, it needs the staff, it needs enablers, it needs everyone all across the board. So I'd love to extend this to our audience in saying that blockchain technology is not just for developers, it's for you and I who will be the participants, the users, the supporters, the critiques, the suppliers, the service, I would say business to business operators, so it's not just for developers. You have your part to play. Now the question is, what will be your part to play in the blockchain ecosystem? So just to usher in the next session, I'd love to welcome Kaidi Bavarinde, the Executive Director, to take us through and introduce the next panel's session. Thank you, Kaidi.
All right, thank you, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the panel session that we just concluded. And right about now is when we are having the contestant to come and present to us the amazing blockchain project I've been working with since February. And to also just let us have the ground rule is that this contestant, they have 10 minutes to present their slides or their testnet and everything they'll be working with. And afterwards, there'll be question and answer from the judges. To join us today in terms of the judges is Mr. John Kayari, the member of Sub-Governance Freetown Africa. And also we have Mr. Adedayo Adebajo, the managing director from Delarida Africa. And also we have Young Austin as well, joining us from Freetown Africa Sub-Governance as well. We have like 5 criteria that we're used to judging the contestant. First is the originality of this idea. We'd like to know how original the idea is, and the second thing we'd like to also look into the business value of what it is they are trying to project to us. And also we look at the innovation of the project. And also we also know how impactful in terms of humanity, how this contribute to humanity. And finally, also summary of the way they present to us today. Moving on, I've mentioned about the judges and also the criteria. So we have 3 contestants joining us today in person of Mr. Joseph Ifite. We also have Mafo Anna, and also we have Oliver as well. So the order, the first person that will present here today is Joseph, and then we have Mafo, then we have Oliver. So our timekeeper today will be our host, which is Rosine Wanjiru. Should be helping us to check in time for 10 minutes, and after 10 minutes, the contestant will have to stop talking to the next person, and there's question and answer. Thank you very much. So we hand over to Joseph to present his own presentation. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Now I'm going to share my screen. All right, I'm a participant from the campus blockchain hackathon, and I'm here to present my solution, which is by name IMOC, to solve problem with education inequality, which we experience majorly in Africa and Nigeria, in terms of proper follow-up and weekly assessment for students. So what we propose to solve is to design a web app that will help reduce or meet the criteria or meet the need from demand for quality assessment, with also curated assessment for learners and also students based on their curriculum. So we are proposing a solution to solve inequalities in terms of filling gaps in the educational assessment and motivation for students in terms of incentives and gamification through proper practice within the web applications. Now, how it works. Now, we have a simple website which we've designed and is hosted. Can you all hear me, please? Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
All right. Sorry. All right, so we have a simple website which we've hosted on the front end, which is IMOC1 Versal.app. Now, this is how it works. I'll just walk you through before I try the demo. Now, user get to access the application through this link. Then before user can set question, users or author has to has to have a Tron wallet. So there is a need for Tron wallet in the equation. Though what we are proposing is a partial decentralized solution. So any user, both student, author, or creator of questions or past questions, questions or assessment questions, will have to create their Tron wallet. Then number 3, users create a Tron wallet and generate their address. The request or buy Tron crystals. Then number 5, for user to set a question into our database or into the platform, he or she has to pay a Tron fee, which the organization IMOC can use to sustain database maintenance and the rest. Now, our market analysis. Now, we are targeting students or people from the age 11 to 25, which holds a very large part of the world, according to statistics, which have about 5 million male within that age bracket. And in Lagos, we have about 1.1 million people within that age bracket that are secondary school students. Now, technical architecture. Now, we're using Chakra UI, we're using Firebase, and also we'll be using the Tron blockchain. As I've said earlier, if you look at the second, after the Web 2.0, the Web 3.0, you will see a partial decentralized solution. So that's where our solution will be. That's how it will work. First, interaction between the server and the client, then which then connects to the internet. Then from the HTTP request angle, now there will be it will be centralized. The solution will be centralized, whereby the interaction between the fetching of questions, submitting of questions will be done on a centralized network, which is the Firebase and is hosted. Then the wallet address, creating a wallet and payments between the platform, staffs and teachers and the platform, students and the platform will be done on the blockchain, which is under this server API. All right, the use of blockchain. Yes, we intend to use, or we'll be using the Freeton blockchain, one for issue token, and also to manage payment, and also to invite participants, because we want participants, once they start using this platform, they should be able to network, tell one or two of their friends about the platform, how it works, how they can use the excess time or their free time to earn some token. All right, now according to this quote by Mother Teresa, it says, I can do things you cannot, you can do things I cannot, together we can do great things. Now what the platform is, or what I'm going to demonstrate, is that this platform gives room for anybody to be an author, in as much you have a good remark and you are reputable. You can be an author, you can set question, biology question, physics question in IT engineering, and what have you, and still be impactful or still change student lives. Now, what we design is just a simple web design, which has the user profile, the navigation menu, networking in Telegram. Yeah, give you network to Telegram, access to mentor site, and contact us. Now, the competitors we have, I'm in Nigerian space, for example, we have ULesson, which offer lecture content, but they don't offer the free messaging service, which we do. We have Pass.ng offer subscription, but they don't offer. Now, what we are currently offering, okay, we have a web platform for blockchain-enabled subscription plan for students to access. We have a web integrated for web monetization plan for teachers to get access and platform to solve and resolve student complaints. We have parent dashboard, whereby parents tend to monitor their kids through assessment, parents monitor their kids to know their weak points and how students can improve. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to, are you with me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, so now I'm going to go straight to the demo. Now for our demo, I'll just walk through, I will log into the website, IMOC1. Okay. IMOC1 from is deployed to the server, to the internet. If you log into the website, so this is the front page, or this is the home page you get to see. So before you interact with this particular website, you need to create a Tone wallet. And I just left a simple button on the front. Actually create also a second.
I guess we lost
Hello,
Joseph.
you're sending now? I thought I have to review first.
Joseph, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry, the network. Can I go on, please?
Please, you have 2 minutes and you are done. So you have 1 minute rather and you are done, please.
Can I go on?
Please, you have 1 minute and you are done.
All right, I'll be fast. Okay, yeah, sure. All right. So refresh So once user access the website from this portal, they get to create a Tron wallet.
I think in the meantime, we have Oliver to present why Marford gets to fix our internet. Oliver, please, you can go ahead and present, please.
Okay, thank you. Let me go on with my presentation. Okay, I'll share my screen right now. And, yeah, okay. I guess you can all see my screen. I guess you can all see my screen.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Once again, my name is Oliver. I'm a student at a local university in my in my country, Kenya. Yeah, okay. Uh, okay, I want to take you guys to a trip right here in Kenya. To as you can see from the background, these are group of women, particularly okay, so like what they are doing right now, they are doing some table banking activities. So like statistics shows that 70% of the Kenyan population participating in table banking are women. Then 500 table banking groups have been created. Yes, and so like what they usually do, they come and each and everyone let's say contributes some money. Okay, let's say we want to develop a project, so like we come together and contribute some money towards that. But now, so like the problem statement is now okay, there are some companies, there are some companies which usually help in this in this idea. But now the problem statement is there is expensive interest rates from other companies to the utilization of funds in an income generating activities. So like let's say we might come together and collect some money, but now the money is not used well. And another one is weak group governance. So like this is mainly due to bad leadership and fake transactions. And another one is during the pandemic period, mm, people were dispersed to go find new jobs. So like almost 50% of the groups ended up failing due to minimal interactions. So like now I'm bringing the solution about SmartX. SmartX is a web application. So like SmartX is an innovative, online banking solution as opposed to table banking that provides impact to users in Kenya by enabling affordable, secured, and seamless financial transaction in a decentralized system. So like SmartX is a solution to the table banking problem, So like okay, uh, about the app is affordable. Then utilization of fund in income generating activities. Then secured against fraud. Then it's decentralized, then continuous and seamless. And so then also monitoring of a group project and access of microfinance. Yeah. So like how it works, users open the web app, and okay, each and every user must have a phone or address. Then the user sign up. Then now the user can perform and user can perform transactional financial services. Yeah, this include like sending up sending cash in the app. Then also members can request loans like then okay, yeah, like if you want to monitor a project, everyone is involved. Yeah, and also microfinancing easily. Impact, so like impact as opposed to other companies that that do this, we offer reduced interest rates. Then now we improve trust in a trustless in a trustless organization because it mainly runs on blockchain. So like we don't need a central organization or a central uh, a central a central asset administration. Then partnership partnership to achieve a goal. Then also decent work and economic growth and innovative and in fact infrastructure. Yeah. Our unique selling point now also, first one, it is decentralized. Okay, unlike the other companies which usually runs on a central server, like a central station, a central point, so that in case of sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Yeah, so like let me continue. So like it's decentralized. So like instead of mm, sorry for that. So our unique, first of all, is it runs on blockchain. Then also it is easy to use. Then cheap, saved interest rates. Then now limited interaction because everything is done on an app. Then everybody contributes to a project, and it also eliminates censorship. The customers now, our key customers is first the table banking groups. Yeah, so like age 18 to 60 years. Also our also business investors. Okay, this okay, the business investors come to play if they want to fund the project. Then if they want to fund our project, then also bank banks who are our key partners. Then unit economics. So like first, the expenditure of hosting the app is around $40. Then also now our cost price, like first, how we earn our cash is first uh, selling our app. Uh, also then also sending messages, like now interacting with the blockchain, and also selling ads in the app. Then okay, if you get some like 1,000 clicks, is in 1,000 messages sent, like uh, uh, the price will be about $50. Okay, in about 2 or 3 weeks. Then in 1,500 messages sent, yeah, it will be like that. Then okay, our key partners, I'd say the banks. Okay, the banks will help in like advocating our apps. Then also women groups, yeah, and business investors. Okay, then the customer relations. So like how user interacts with the app. Like we will introduce okay, something like a 30-day free trial. So like now this will help in okay, it will help in convincing our customers that the app is good. So like if they are now satisfied about it, yeah, then a notification mode where where customers are notified upon a new transaction is created. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the presentation. I'll request the participants to post the questions on the chat section. I'll invite the next presenter just to take over. I hope she's ready, the mic and presentation.
My name is Marco Anambeni. I'm a final year student at ESSEC Kumba, studying computer science. I'm the CEO and the founder of AgriDrone Tech. My project is Internet of Things-based automated agricultural monitoring and control system for smart farms. Can you hear me?
Please go ahead.
The goal is creating a fully decentralized supply chain monitoring system based on total blockchain for distribution of agricultural goods. This is the content of my work. Okay, background. Aside from the fact that according to the United Nations report, the world population is expected to increase by 9.7 billion in 2050. The exponential decrease in agricultural production in Cameroon amounts to 45%. Is caused by crop disease attacks, poor irrigation system, and many others. Different measures such as application of fertilizers, insecticides, and technological development have been adopted by farmers, the government to combat this situation but to no avail. According to Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations report in 2018, about 75% of Cameroonians who are involved in agriculture as their main occupation still practice traditional and conventional methods of farming, which require vast manpower and manual interpretation. But the lack of manpower is one of the major challenges that farmers face nowadays. With this approach of farming, the following problems can be identified. The traditional method and the tool used by farmers is time-consuming and labor-intensive, given that the farmer needs to spray and monitor a whole hectare of farm before the day runs by or the week. Okay, in Cameroon agriculture, physical control and monitoring of crops in large farms only allows about 40 to 55 coverage of the farm, hence in addition of the traditional method. Crop surveillance, control, and supply require physical proximity, hence putting the life of the farmer at risk as it decreases work safety and food supply chain. Also, Cameroon farmers cannot control the amount of chemicals sprayed in their farm, which instead has an environmental impact on the natural ecosystem, hence thereby allowing runoff of chemicals into the river. With this method of farming, climatic conditions like rainfall, soil, moisture cannot be disturbed. And then another thing is excess use of chemical water pesticides by the farmer has tended to leach the soil, thereby lowering agricultural productivity, which is then increased by the food. And then 20% of farmers who spray their farms manually inhale these chemicals, which results in heart problems, eye tearing, and breathing difficulties. Now, AgriDrone Tech presents an Internet of Things smart farming that incorporates blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, which will help optimize agricultural operations, increase crop production, monitor crop, and ensure security of farmers' products in the supply chain, thereby enabling Cameroon to attain the 2035 goal of emerging economy. Okay, how I envision the operation of my solution. Okay, here you can see the diagram, and the two main actors are the buyer and the seller. That is the client and the producer. Okay, I produce and sell my drone solution to monitor the supply chain, the process using a shared decentralized blockchain ledger to ensure that the good I ship remains unaltered. The buyer contacts the seller through the platform to purchase the goods, and hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. All this information are encrypted so that the buyer can see but cannot alter. After this phase, the seller dispatch the requested goods, and in each package we have sensors like the location, the light, and the time sensor. This data is committed to the contract, and then the contract contains protocol controlling the double authentication process. If the package is altered or not, all processes will be sent to the Web3 API, and all these transactions are sponsored by Drone Wallet. then workability of the solution. You can see that it consists of three smart contracts. We have the supplier, the people that manages the supplier interaction with blockchain, and the people that manages the client interaction with the blockchain. And we have the target smart contract that functions for the report. The supplier is responsible for supplying the goods, and with the supply, and then with the supplier, we have a report that allows us to create, to add items, to view and to delete the items. So the supplier is the consumer of the goods, who is capable of viewing and updating the item. The execution of the project, this is the execution of the project here. Here you can download phone software from Play Store or from the web. When you download it, you can create an account and then click the test link that directly to the report browser. And then you should also make sure that you have some positive balance so that it can deploy target smart function. Then the supplier is the one who asks for public key and then enter in the communication between the supplier and the client. Here, what makes my project unique is that it impacts the community, ensuring safety, trust, and transparency along the supply chain. It is functional and can generate revenue to the company. And then one thing is that it increases traceability in the supply chain. That is, consumer will know exactly where this product was built, how it functions, hence reducing fraud and false negatives. And then increase efficiency for farmers, as all data will be stored in one place and track the assets. We know that before, farmers usually store their data on Excel, so with blockchain is going to solve that problem. Then fairer payment of goods. The smart contract will eliminate third parties or intermediaries, and it will allow farmers to connect directly.
So I guess we all have been able to see both slides from all three contestants. I will make the floor open to the judges to go ahead and ask the contestant their questions. Thank you very much.
Yes, I have a question for Mengit Kimei Kayode.
Yes, I can.
Okay. I just want to understand about the program that you are running, the SmartX, the collaboration between the decentralized application and the banks. How are you going to relate to the banks, or the banks, are they related to the savings and credit circles within Kenya?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. As I mentioned a while ago, my key partners are the banks, and okay. So what I observed is in they usually come. Okay, they usually come, and let's say they collect some money, and now the money is sent to the bank. But now, as in now, okay. Normally, one person usually now is sent to collect the money. Is sent to put the money in the bank. But now, with my app in place, the app will act like the intermediary. So like now the app is the one responsible for sending the money to the bank.
Yeah, okay. I get you. The other thing, do you have a demo? I didn't see the demo.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. I was working with the demo, though now, okay. It brought some issues, particularly when sending the message to the contacts. Let me do something just a little bit. Yeah. Oh, okay. This is the demo. So like now, once a user signs up, so like the user can come and more. Okay. I had issues when I had issues interacting with the contact. So like is in sending and retrieving messages from the contact. So like it mm, it's not completed yet, but yeah. So like this so like I I come here to the project sections, and let's say I can initiate a project. Okay, let's say the project is constructing a dam. Then now project is let's put something similar, and the amount that will be let's put a rough now. Okay, now when I create it, everybody will see in the app, and everybody can get an opportunity to vote, as in whether this project should pass or not. Yeah. Yeah, that
Thank
was
you. Thank you. Thank you, Oliver. I think I'm done for questions. Maybe the other jury members can progress with the other contestants. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So I will direct my questions to Joseph. So Joseph, with regards to, you said something like partially decentralized. So I was like, copyright and other stuff can be a big issue with people putting up stuffs. Do you have anything in check that could look towards that with regards to copyright? And you mentioned some of the competitors. So I wanted you to kind of draw a little more light on how your own project is going to stand out against theirs. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. In terms of copyrights, we intend to make the application open. That is, once you access and you submit your question, irrespective of someone mocking that particular question. Most of the times, a question set today is a past question tomorrow. So it's not a question that stays forever or peculiar to one person. So there is no unique question to a particular person at an instant. So author gets to gain more remarks based on review and comments from students who have practiced with their questions. So when author drop the next question and whatsoever, they will know that, okay, this person is credible. That's one. And also, the IMOC itself is setting past questions which will be made available for free for students, majorly. So there's no price for it. There won't be any price attached to it. Now, for your second question, if I should get right, please, can you come again, please? I'm sorry. Your second question.
Yeah, you mentioned two competitors. So
okay, yes. We have ULesson here and pass.ng in Nigeria. ULesson, they do learning. They give learning content on their platform. They teach you and teach you. So ours is different in the sense that we do follow up. We do a regular weekly follow up. Like we make sure we spread our tentacles to every geopolitical zones. So I'll be able to get what students are actually doing. And how do we achieve that? We will also give a feedback mechanism for students to submit a review. Although incentives will be involved, whereby if a student should take a particular subject, a topic in their area, in their subject area in school today, they can, fill a form and take a review, then give us feedback. Then we, from those feedback, we can, do a weekly curated assessment for them. Then for pass.ng do a recharge card subscription-based model in such a way that you pay maybe 100 Naira recharge card, or you subscribe with an 100 Naira recharge card to have access to past questions. And don't forget, these past questions are ready for and available for everyone. We are we partner with our key partners at the Ministry of Education, exam bodies in Nigeria and also in West Africa. Now, after the exams, they give out this past question, so it's open. So nobody will say, okay, this question is unique to me. No, we don't. I don't think that will be quite sensible.
Okay,
That's
thank
your
you.
question. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that answers it. That's all from me for the questions.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So I'll be directing my question to Marfo. Yeah, you made a presentation about integrating IoT with drone AI and blockchain technology. Well, during your presentation, you made reference, of course, to supply chain, managing the supply chain system with using blockchain technology. But well, your presentation was actually supposed to be about drone application, AI, and IoT. I can't really see how blockchain is coming into place to solve any problem here. So probably my question would be on two different bases. Like, what exactly are you trying to solve with blockchain aside from using it as a supply chain mechanism? And could you have used a different solution aside from blockchain technology to solve this problem? Then finally, how do you think you can really integrate all these together using drone, AI, and IoT with blockchain?
Yes, sir. The solution can work without blockchain, but the additional advantage, like I said, was that it will ensure safety, trust, and transparency in the supply chain, which is what makes my solution unique.
Okay.
And then the second question is what I did not really get well.
Okay, making reference to your problem statement, it's all about the increase in population by 2050 to certain billion figures, and of course the lagging in terms of agricultural productivity, which you want to solve using drone technology, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, back to your solution using blockchain as a supply chain. How do these come in together? I mean, drone technology, AI, IoT, blockchain. How do they all fit together to solve the problem that you made reference to when you're beginning your presentation?
Okay, sir. Like I said earlier, that with my drone, because I said the farmers use the manual method of.
Okay, probably just to make this a little bit easier for you, it can be a yes, it can be a no answer. Okay, so let me simplify it. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you. I hear you very well.
Let me simplify the question for you. It's just a yes or no answer. Your problem statement, you wanted to solve the problem of productivity, the lagging productivity using blockchain technology. And while presenting, you made reference to drone, AI, IoT to solve these problems. Now, your blockchain solution basically is all about supply chain. So will I be correct if I say the solution you're presenting is not really a solution for blockchain, but a solution for drone technology?
The solution, it incorporates everything like I said from the beginning, sir, because my product is what I was talking about, what the product does and the uniqueness of that product, which is the drone. So I spoke about the drone monitoring the farm, and once it monitor, and I spoke about artificial intelligence, which identify crop diseases, and that is, it detects crop diseases and automatically spray it if there's any crop infection. And then with all this data gathered, it will be saved in the platform. That's an additional advantage of the product that I'm advertising, that is I'm showing that the farmers are going to use. And supplying this product, this is what it's going to do. The safety, how safe the product will be, how transparent it will be. That's where blockchain technology comes into the product.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Marfo.
So I guess we are come to the end of the hackathon contestant presenting their projects. We have to leave the judges to go ahead and allocate their scores while we move to the next on the agenda. So over to you, Rosalind, for the next section.
All right, thank you so much. And I appreciate each one of the presenters. I wish you all the best as we proceed to the judgment segment. Now, in introducing the next panel discussion, and just before that, wherever you're seated or listening in from, I'd encourage you just to stand up for a minute, take a deep breath. If you haven't gotten a chance to maybe just stretch your feet, please do that, because we have one more exciting stretch to go ahead for. So I will happily invite Susan Chief Nyamwea and Muthoni Njogu, as well as Lavinia Osborne, the panelists for the next segment, to unmute their mics and start their videos as we host this discussion, as we listen in to blockchain as a catalyst for the digital economy. Lavinia, kindly take us through as the moderator, and please introduce the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosalind. Lovely to see you. Looking well, as always. It's awesome to be part of the closing ceremony of this hackathon, and congratulations and well done to everyone who has participated and who have reached the final stages. Much congratulations to you. So my name is Lavinia Osborne. I'm the host and founder of Women of Blockchain Talks. Coyote, the organizer of this hackathon, has been kind enough to involve me in the talks and allowed me to add my thoughts and experience to the journey of the students. So thank you very much for including me in this. Without further ado, I'd like to invite to the stage Chief Nyamwea, Muthoni, and Susan, of course, from Jubex. Are we here? Are you unmuted?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes,
perfect. Hi. Where's Susan? Hi, Susan, are you here?
She'll be joining in a minute.
Right. Okay, thank you, Coyote. Right, so with that being said, we're going to be talking about business being a catalyst, and it's very important that these students, the next generation, the next wave of people coming into this space, understand what it is to be in business, and in being in business, how that's going to help as a catalyst in promoting blockchain technology to the next generation and the next cohort, because it's not just a generational thing in the sense of age, but it's also a next generation cohort in a sense of mindset. Blockchain is so new, it's very innovative, and there is space for everyone. It's not discriminatory towards anyone, irrelevant of their age, gender, nationality. So when I talk, I always talk about how inclusive and diverse it is, and that there's enough space for everyone who wants to come in and add a purpose and value to this evolving space. So Muthoni is a lawyer, and she will be talking about regulations around blockchain and business, starting your business, things that you need to be mindful of, things that you need to think about. It's not just about the creative aspect, it's not just about the vision. Chief will be talking about storytelling and how it's very important in regards to building your community and branding yourself. Our stories help teach, but it also allows people to connect with us as individuals. And Susan will be talking about entrepreneurship in and of itself, and why it's so important to have those skill sets and things that you need to think about when you are building your business, building your product, because it's not just a product that you're building, it's a vision, and it's a business ultimately. So, Muthoni, would you like to say a few more things about yourself and maybe start the conversation off about things we need to think about from a legal and regulatory point of view when starting our business and just the whole blockchain space?
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, everyone from wherever you are. My good name is Muthoni Njogu. I'm an advocate here in Kenya. I'm also a member of one of the industry associations in Kenya, that is the Blockchain Association of Kenya, and I assist them in terms of legal work and also trying to come up with policies that we can see whether we can engage our own government here in terms of trying to come up with policies for the blockchain technology. And I'm very happy to be here. The request is to kick off this conversation, and I think coming from the previous presenters, I think there was a presentation about various inventions that various students have come up with. And a few things that I always say when it comes to inventions, you really need to think about your intellectual property. I think there's some very, very, very good suggestions and proposals and questions have been fronted of all these products that have been invented. But again, you need to ask yourself, have you protected yourself from intellectual property perspective? I'll be engaging much more, but I am over to you, Lavinia.
Thank you so much. And I think that's really key. Sometimes we forget about these things. I mean, even I do. I'm always out there sharing my ideas. And it's only afterwards one thinks, oops, intellectual property, Lavinia. So without further ado, Chief, would you like to introduce yourself and just talk about why it's so important, or why storytelling is so important, just briefly, and then we'll go into questions. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much, Lavinia. Thank you to the Africa Blockchain Institute, Kayode, who invited me here. And congratulations to all the finalists who've made it this far. My name is Chief Nyamoya, as I've been introduced, and I'm an illustrator, storyteller, and I've worked in the animation space for over 10 years. And I've always, at a personal level, been motivated by investigating the frontiers of what's to come, especially in our context on the African continent. And this has pushed me towards science fiction and working in science fiction. And through my travels and my interactions, when I was in San Francisco attending Singularity University, I met a member of the blockchain faculty who really got me interested in its disruptive potential and its potential to really change how we interact, and possibly dissolving the institutions which for a long time have been an obstacle to us developing. And so we got the idea of creating a story, and a story that can take people from 0 to 1, because as Desiree pointed out, most people are not interested in the complexities that developers dedicate most of their time to work with. Most people who are even driving a car don't need to know about how combustion engines work and what the pistons are doing. They just want to know what it does, how to use it, and especially in their context, in their life. And this is what story is extremely powerful in doing. So the whole idea of Trust Graphic Novel was to do that, to take people from 0 to 1, understand what blockchains are, what decentralization is as a concept, and if they are interested, be able to graduate from that to maybe becoming cryptographers or working in any other space that they can. And the story embeds themselves in communities such as the one that we've seen today. There's a community in a nation that I create called Wahengaland, and I'll share the link to Trust Graphic Novel in the chat so that anybody who's interested can look. And maybe if we have 5 minutes to spare on the chat, I might even show the motion comic that we created. So I'm really excited about this, and as we go along, we can be able to talk some more about this.
Fantastic. I think that's a great introduction. I love your passion. And, to really engage people, we do need the illustrators, the people who not only have the vision, but can visualize it in a way that can encourage new individuals, new blood, new people into this space. So I'm looking forward to hearing all that you have to say. And of course, finally, we have Susan Falalo, who is the founder of GBX. Would you like to unmute yourself? Oh, great, yeah.
Thank you for introduction, Lavinia. I also like to say thank you to obviously the African Blockchain Institute for inviting me along to the panel today, and very exciting finalists that you have. But unfortunately, I missed their presentations due to some meetings I had this morning. But I'm actually the founder of Jubix. Jubix is a financial intermediary that connects startups and expertise with the relevant investment needed to scale the business. We do this on the blockchain. So if you can imagine, when you present an idea into Jubix, it is initially timestamped, and that timestamp represents your IP in future scenarios. Similarly, when you have a task or where you've participated in a project or you've collaborated, similarly, the timestamp will also showcase or have like a provenance value in terms of what your contribution was to that idea. So I want to like change how investment is done. Naturally, we invest traditionally by, making a legal agreement. And, the investor has to wait 4 to 5 years before he gets his investment back, his return on investment. So now with Jubix, we want to create a vertical that actually you can now transcend that money based on tractional capabilities of other ideas within the Jubix infrastructure. So once you invest in a company, if you believe that company is not actually doing so well, you can actually now divert your investment to another investment within the Jubix ecosystem. So it gives you that kind of power of having ownership of your money instead of actually just waiting to see what happens. And then obviously from a idea perspective, you have all of the cross-functional expertise that you connect with from day dot. So I think Mafani touched on it about the fact that, there's all of these legalities in regards to certain businesses, which, as a, startup founder, you don't want to go into all the legal system because you end up spending a lot of money there. So, it's really good to have all of these components on board from the very get-go of your idea. So let's say CRM agents, strategists, technologists, marketing, branders, so that they can actually help you to make sure that you're not left on your own. As we all know, as an entrepreneur, it's so hard to gather the right expertise. But if you can do that from the very get-go of the idea, you can see how much it's going to cost over time to actually scale with these expertise. So you kind of like don't have that whole, oh my God, I spend $5,000 today. And then later on down the line, 6 months down the line, you've already spent like 50 grand without knowing, right? So now you have that whole, oh, I know exactly from day dot, this is how much it's going to cost me over a period of time. Can I do it? Can I not do it? So this is kind of like a background story for me, because I was always kind of very inclusive at school. So if you can imagine, I used to speak to, my white peers, my black peers, my Asian peers, my Chinese peers. And actually that went against me because obviously I like to interact with all of society, which made me have obviously a lot more diverse skills. So I think that that's what we need in today's market. And I think that's what blockchain can really bring. It can bring diversity, it can bring inclusion, and it can actually, benefit society, in terms of the ecosystems that are created. So I really appreciate that I'm here today.
With that being said, I'd like to kick off the first question with you then, Susan, because you touched on something about diversity, and also you touched on about the different requirements to get the business up and running. So for our finalists today, what are the things that you think they've got the idea, they've been working on a hackathon, they've got their idea now. What should they be thinking about now as an entrepreneur? Because this is what we are, entrepreneurs. What should they be thinking about in the first instance? We're always thinking ahead. So what should they be thinking about now? You're on mute.
The first thing I would say is R&D. I know it sounds like, like a really, strenuous task.
Some people don't know.
Exactly. So research and development is so crucial to every idea. You're going to think you're going to be the next unicorn. You're going to think, oh, I've got what the customer needs. But if you do not talk to these customers, if you do not have, relevant focus groups, relevant collaborators that potentially might use your product, you don't actually know the feedback until you've obviously produced a product. And at that stage, you've already invested a lot of time, you've already invested a lot of money. So actually doing some R&D, whether that be, 6 months to a year, depending on what the product is, it can really help to actually make you ahead of your competitors. So if you can imagine, you produce a product today, but because you haven't thought of, the follow through, now your competitors are ahead of you. They can actually produce a product straight after you and actually kick you out of the market. Where if you've done your R&D sufficiently enough, that can actually help to actually make you a more formidable competitor.
Okay. Mutani, can you follow up on that? So what do you think these finalists need to be thinking about now that this day has arrived? If they whoever wins, and even the individuals who don't win, they've got this idea now. What do you think they should be thinking about in this moment outside of winning?
So I think a lot of times, I think even as Susan said, we really get excited about ideas and we really want to share all our ideas with everyone. And at that moment in time, when you do share your ideas, you do realize that you've actually let it out to the public. Now you've been in a position where you're a contestant and probably you've not won, and you had this idea that you're able to come and relate to, a group of an institution like this. So where do you start? You must have a starter pack. Even as Susan said, there's a starter pack, even a legal starter pack. Let's begin from there as well. So you must think of, now I have already expanded my intellectual property. So what happens to it? Do I need to copyright it? Do I need to patent it? What do I need to do? So that you can be able to hold those ideas. They be, the idea is yours so that nobody else is able to, copy it and use it elsewhere. So you need to think about things like that. Again, if you're a person who has won in the contest, you also need to think about other things like, data protection. Does your idea involve other people? You also need to think about, are there normal regulations probably within that your organization, within your jurisdiction that apply? If, for instance, one of your ideas is relating to, payment systems, are there payment system regulations within your jurisdiction that you need to apply? So as Susan said, there's a whole basket of regulations that you need to think about. But the first thing that I would advise anybody who is in a startup is always first to protect the idea, even before we get to the rest of all the other regulations. Protect it. Thank you. You're on mute.
And Chief, how would you answer this from your perspective,
Yes. There's very strong similarity that I see between the startup process and storytelling, because when you're launching a startup, the very first thing that you do is profile your user, try to get a sense of who the user is, and you might even go as far as drawing them. What do they do? Where do they go to school? If they go to school, how old are they? And that's the same process that you go through as a storyteller. Before you develop the story, you need to know who your characters are. So you need to have a good profile of who this character is, because very often as you're telling the story, depending on what's happening in the context and depending on how you develop the character, the interactions will create outcomes that you did not anticipate. And that's the same thing in a startup, that as you go along and as you're iterating, there are going to be certain developments that you don't anticipate, and it's directly correlated to how well you profile that character. So I would say spend a lot of time trying to understand your user, profile them as well as possible. Who are the protagonists? Who are the antagonists? And there are a lot of tools that I use in storytelling that I find overlap quite well with startup culture. Like there's a chart that we usually draw before we write a story. Who is the protagonist? What is their goal? What is their biggest goal that's going to drive the story? What is the obstacle that they face? And then you do the same thing for all the characters involved, and that becomes very useful. And also understand a little bit about storytelling. If you can dedicate a little bit of time to developing that skill, or getting somebody on your team who has that skill, it can be very helpful in moving your product forward, because there've been so many instances where you have a brilliant backend, but the UX and the part that the users interact with is not very good, and that itself can just end up destroying all the hard work that you've done. So I think my advice would be just dedicating a lot more time to that human aspect.
I think Sure. Yeah, I think that's really great, and it's obviously a very creative way of looking at it, which makes it interesting and fun, because sometimes when you're starting a business, it can be taxing when you're thinking about R&D and thinking about legal. You want to bring a bit more fun and flavor into it, and so what you've proposed is definitely a fun and flavorsome way of thinking about how to think about your users, and also your supporters, because your users can be your supporters, but
Exactly.
they can be your supporters in the way of excuse me, they could be your supporters in the way of your encouragers, but your supporters in the sense of critiquing you and making you be better.
Absolutely.
And so some people will see that as an antagonist, but an antagonist can also be positive for your business. So I think it's very good to think about those outcomes.
If I can support that point very briefly, I would say that so often in the books that I've done before, there's overlap between who your supporters are and who your funders are. For example, when you do crowdfunding campaigns, the very same people who are supporting you in a crowdfunding campaign are most likely to be the very same people who would be reading or consuming your content. And like in the case of my most recent book, my strongest supporters have come from the blockchain community. You have groups like the Consensus Grants, Algorand, and all these other participants, and they themselves are consumers of this material. So it's relationship building at the end of the day, and it's storytelling at the end of the day.
Really great points there. Really great points. So I'm gonna go back to Muthoni, and I'm gonna ask her my question to you and to the panel ultimately. What has been your biggest challenge in your business in the context of blockchain that is relevant to, which could be relevant to many people who the finalist specifically, and how did you overcome it?
One of the biggest challenges that I find within as a lawyer myself, one of the biggest challenges that I find with, startups or clients who are within the blockchain space is the notion that there is a curtail in terms of legal costs, and they think that if I get into legal, I will probably not even have enough money. Probably if I have 100,000, I will probably not have enough money if I put in the lawyer aspect. But it is very critical that you understand that I think, as Chief said, it's sort of a whole storyline. You must think about the grand picture before you even just start, having small chunks about it. You must think about it, that this will entail a legal aspect about it. So one of the ways that, like for us in Kenya, there are organizations that actually help you to just be a startup, and they're able to cater for you from a legal perspective with no cost whatsoever. We actually have, I think, a hub here in Kenya that's called the Lawyers Hub. It actually helps a lot of startups to navigate the legal aspect about you being a startup, and at a very minimum cost. So I think one of the ways is to try and get information that there are actually organizations that actually help startups if you think that legal costs are an impediment to get you started off from that perspective. So I think that is one of the problems from my area, that I find a lot of people, the lack of knowledge and education about it just becomes a hurdle, and you see somebody is not moving, and a few years down the line, their idea has been taken by somebody else. So I think it's that. And also just trying to engage the organizations that are government-based, that you just go and walk in and walk out. There's a bit of, can I say, fear? I call it fear. It's like fear. You don't want to step into somewhere and ask for that information. The information is readily available. Some few things that have a very minimum cost, so you do not have to, have that legal quagmire, but you need to have it as a startup. Yes.
Brilliant advice. And I think what I would take away from that is you don't know what you don't know. So ask the questions. You may have the assumption that it's going to be costly. Who can I trust? But unless you ask the question, then you don't know what resources are available to you. And so what Muthoni is saying is that there are legal recourse that doesn't have to be too expensive, that you can start building into your business to protect you for the present and the foreseeable future. And now you're saying that that's in Kenya. So obviously, if it's in Kenya, then it may or may not be in other parts of Africa. But until you ask that question, then you don't really know. Correct?
Correct. And in fact, like this particular, I think there was a formation of what we call an Africa Legal Tech Association. So this encompasses the whole continent, and it also has partnerships with other continents. I think even Australia, I think there's a connection to that as well. So as well, if you don't look for the information will find you. But all these associations are within the continent, and of course over and above the continent as well.
So a question or a direction to Coyote is a resource page with some of this legal information, so the finalists and other students who have participated can have access to that information. And Susan, what has been your biggest hurdle, and how did you overcome it as a startup entrepreneur?
I just wanted to touch a little bit about what Chief said about storytelling. And I feel that also, now that we're living in a decentralized world with the blockchain, actually, we have to make holistic products. So we have to make products that meet different needs within one product. Because now you have, even husband and wife arguing about Brexit, right? You have, the people in the Labour Party or the people in the Conservative Party not getting along. So now people are having much more opinions and believing that I have, value to bring to the table. So I believe that, going forward, even as a startup founder, when you're making a product, always think about, the first layer, second layer in terms of a blockchain product. And think, how can I diversify my product to meet those different segments within the community that I've built? So you could have maybe like teenagers in your community, you might have older adults. So like Chief said, it's like you could have a use case based on a 35-year-old woman named Kelly, and she goes to work. But now, because the users are so diverse, you actually have to have a product that meets the different needs that those users have. So going back to your question, Lavinia, about the challenges. For me, the most biggest challenge is not knowing that my race was going to be an issue. For me, I've always grew up in, a quite cosmopolitan area. So for me to actually now, at the height of my career, actually realize that actually my race is a factor and also my gender. I feel that was the biggest barrier that I could have faced, because I'm actually a confident, I can work well with women, I can work well with men. So for me, I felt that was the biggest barrier for me in terms of like having to actually face up to it. Oh gosh, I'm Black and I'm female and it's a problem. So I really believe that blockchain particularly will help to obviously, spearhead, women into more, C-level roles and executive roles. So that's why, I was so delighted to actually be in this space because, it's kind of like a thing that I wasn't affected by, but only realizing now that it's a big thing and it's been happening for years, and it's not just an African thing, it's a global thing. So even knowing that as well, because I'm from Nigeria myself, so I'm kind of used to the women don't speak, the men talk kind of thing. But when realizing that actually it's a global thing, and it's something that needs to be handled, and it needs to have formidable women like Lavinia and Mafoni to come and actually talk up and represent the female sector. The female experts in the sectors. So definitely now that I faced the barrier, I would like to set the change. So that's my whole processing of it, really.
The challenge still remains, but there is a process to overcoming it. We talk about race and gender. So of course, gender discrimination and the gender gap is obviously around everywhere. But is race really a bigger factor for our finalists, so to speak, because they are in Africa? So do you think that will be as big a issue there than, say, a country like the UK, which is where you and I both are?
So I was actually glad that Mafoni talked about, there's an alliance, of people that have come together in Africa to make sure that there's certain frameworks or certain policies in place to make sure that these ecosystems that are built are actually being scaled. Because I even saw on, a friend's status today that, having to wake up in Nigeria another day, I'm so saddened, Also in terms of the Bitcoin blockchain movement, they've, they've forbidden people making Bitcoin transactions. I don't know in all parts of Africa, but specifically in Nigeria. So that is really, really painful, because if anything, that's where the ecosystems are needed even more. These ecosystems provide an infrastructure that would help other people to have opportunities. So why would governments or, these politicians stop that from happening? It's really very, very upsetting. So definitely I agree with you that these startups are in Africa, but also, be confident enough to even, go out to international investors, be confident enough to, and bold enough to know that you are great, you are amazing. And no matter your race, if the person in front of you believes that you are great, the race thing won't be an issue. So, I feel that, don't just limit yourself to Africa, but also go to external parts, because then they can also provide the investment that you need to be able to scale from an operational perspective.
I think that's a great point, because sometimes we get, we want to go out and take a risk, but we're scared. And so we choose safe and comfort. And then when it doesn't work, we say, I tried and it didn't work. But did you try outside of your comfort zone? This is the question. And with this space, it is really new, and it is for the bold, and it is for the brave. So good advice there. Okay, Chief, can I ask you the same question?
Yes, thank you. I can only agree with the previous panelists. The challenges that we face, I would say very few of them are exclusively personal, and the majority of them are systemic. That even if we take for granted the fact that you're very bold, you're very courageous, you have all that it takes to be a successful entrepreneur, there are still some systemic barriers that we face, such as lack of government support, underinvestment, especially in frontier fields. For me, previously, that was animation. And then even if you look at this field of blockchain technology, you can count on your fingertips the number of, African governments that, first of all, understand it and are supportive. It's and it's not necessarily unique to Africa. I think all over the world, if you're involved in a frontier field, if you're an early adopter, you're going to face a lot of skepticism, and you're going to have to be very comfortable, being lonely and being alone and understanding the potential that lies ahead, and just waiting to be vindicated maybe 5 years down the line or not. So it's developing that risk appetite. But risk appetite is not just about your attitude. I must emphasize that there are certain. It's easier when you have certain padding, and disproportionately we see that the people involved in startups tend to already have this cushioning. So I would say it's skepticism, it's lack of knowledge, but together we are trying to solve those challenges. So we are not just sitting back and saying that, oh, these are our challenges. I would say communities like these are extremely powerful, and I was so happy to be introduced to the Africa Blockchain Institute, and together we can overcome some of these challenges, whether it's gender discrimination, racial discrimination, because even in this forum we are among our people. And I just look forward to more opportunities to be with my people, discuss how we can solve these challenges together.
Wonderful. I can't agree with you more. It is a beautiful thing to have a shared community where we are uplifting each other, people who are in Africa and people from the African diaspora. So such as myself, my family are Caribbean, and I look at I see all the blockchain use cases, and there seems to be vast in Africa, in different parts of Africa, but in the Caribbean, there isn't any. So, there's a lot of work to be done. Let's just put it that way. There's a lot of work to be done.
if I could add one small thing, I would say a lot of the skepticism that I see currently is also coming from the fact that like 90-something% of the conversation about blockchain is dominated by cryptocurrencies. And, it tends to favor people who already have an excess of capital and are just getting gains on that capital. So that's not really interesting for, the people who need it the most, the people at the so-called bottom of the pyramid. So it would be really powerful to see use cases outside of cryptocurrency and fintech, to see how it really benefits. And that's really also from a storytelling perspective, that's really what I've been looking out for. So the contributions of the participants today and the people making the pitches was really powerful.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so we're going to round this up. And what one piece of advice would you give, not even your younger self, if you were a finalist, knowing what you know, if you was one of the finalists, what advice would you give yourself? Do you see what I mean? Based on your experience. So what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself if you was a finalist today? And we'll start with you, Chief.
Wow, that's a really tough one. Because so much of what you learn, you just learn from experience. So I would just say, get in there, do it, fail fast and fail cheaply.
I like that one. And Mothani?
For me, I would say think global, of course, act locally. And then you are not a tree. So change is constant. So you definitely keep changing. And I think I like what all of you have said about brevity and the solitude that comes into these spaces. Sometimes there's no one, there's no a bunch of lawyers that are doing blockchain, So it's despite the solitude, you keep moving forward. Nonetheless. Thank you.
Love it. And last but definitely not least, Susan, what would you say?
I would say keep learning. I mean, it's something I did before, but I think learning is a very crucial thing. We can all believe that we're experts, but I think that, learning can actually help, and support your activities. So, knowledge is power.
Learning in what context? Keep learning in what?
So just especially when it comes to the blockchain space. So if you're in blockchain, if you're in technology, you got to be up to date with what's going on every single day. And it takes a lot of time to be able to do that. I think the technology landscape is pivoting by the day, by the minute. Mm-hmm. So if you believe that, you're an ultimate expert and you don't need to learn anymore, that could be your detriment. So actually, scaling, learning, pivoting, it's all part. So it's more of a kinetic, viewpoint than actually, this is how we're going to be. It's all going to be steady. I don't think the landscape is going to be steady going forward. I think it's going to be quite complex.
Yeah.
So be ready.
And I asked myself the same question. And what I would say is, it's very important to join communities. So communities such as this, because it is a lonely journey, and sometimes you just need to be part of a community who gets where you're coming from and reminds you of who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. And then you can keep pivoting, failing forward, learning, and I really love what Mothani said. Think global, be local. So yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Lavinia.
Thank you so much to awesome panel. That amazing insight. Fail forward and fail cheaply. I like that one because sometimes you can be stuck on your idea and not knowing how to move forward. You're looking for capital, you're looking for team, and maybe your design has or your product has a fundamental flaw. So you wouldn't know if you didn't fail cheaply. So at this point, then I'd just love to heavily appreciate my panelists and introduce at this point then the next speaker to share his remarks. From the Freetown Academy, kindly let's have Eugene Morozov unmute and start his video.
Yes, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Excellent. Again, hello, everyone. My name is Eugene Morozov, and indeed, I'm a very active member of Freeton community, particularly in Freeton Academy. But I would like to start by thanking John and Coyote for inviting me to speak here, and also for organizing this very, very important event, the hackathon. I wanted to share with you that my personal experiences took me to Africa many, many times. I have been to Casablanca in Morocco, to Cairo in Egypt, to Yaoundé in Cameroon, to Nairobi in Kenya, Zanzibar in Tanzania, to Cape Town in South Africa, and some other places. And during those travels, I personally learned how important it is to give people an opportunity to learn and utilize their knowledge throughout their careers to take advantage of their education. My personal education was in Moscow State University. I studied economics. And then at the University of Illinois in the United States, I did my master's degree in accounting. I'm also a certified public accountant in the United States. And I have a long career in financial services, working for large banks such as JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank, Renaissance Capital, which is now active in Africa as well. But then about a year ago, when I learned about Freeton, I decided to dedicate some of my time. And I'm extremely pleased with that. One of the things that we at Freeton community realized is how important it is to help people who are new to blockchain, who are new to this wonderful technology, how important it is to help them get up to speed and have the proper onboarding so that they can become effective in learning, effective in achieving their life goals. And to help people with that, the Freeton community has formed an academy. I just dropped in the chat room the link. It is freeton.academy. And that website is specifically designed for people that want to learn more about this available technology and many related issues. We plan to teach not just blockchain itself, but also a number of other important issues, such as ecosystem that was built around the technology, the Freeton blockchain, such as historical moments that are important for people to position themselves properly, financial courses to educate people on various finance issues. So we're hoping to have Freeton Academy be a one-stop shop for knowledge related to blockchain and similar knowledge that is needed for young people such as all of you to advance in their careers. So we certainly will offer advanced courses for especially those that are the winners and finalists of the hackathon. We welcome everybody, and we will make sure that you have access to the most recent, most up-to-date, and most relevant information related to blockchain. So again, I want to thank everybody, and I'm open to any questions that you guys may have.
All right, I'll just check for questions from the audience on the chat section. If there are no questions then at this point, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your journey with us. I believe then that each one of the audience has been inspired to further their career and take their part in this ecosystem. Right up next, I'd love to introduce Alex. Just a second. Yeah, Alex, kindly unmute and start your video.
I'm here. Thank you very much. So is it the show time?
Yep.
What a journey! What an amazing journey! I remember like Coyote, myself, and John. We were just casually speaking what we can do in Africa together. What would be synergy? And he said, "Well, let's do a hackathon." And that was probably around October last year. and that was so. It's like, okay, let's do a hackathon. It's been an amazing journey. Just to give you a sense, the the technical presentation that we wrote a couple of months ago, introducing people to the blockchain technology overall, and Freeton specifically, has been like a massive hit, and is one of the key elements that we're using now for global education around the world. So it's been a real success, I think, for the hackathon, and it's to be continued. And I would like to really congratulate and say how much we appreciate the 3 winners that we have today. The guys who made it to final, you are all winners. It doesn't really matter who's going to be the winner, and then the runner-ups. You did an amazing job, and I really encourage you to continue to leverage the help of the Freeton community in Africa and globally. Deliver your solution and change the world, change your country, the continent to better. And I would not even stop there. I mean, the beauty of blockchain is that it's a very global space. And it doesn't really matter if you do your project in Kenya or South Africa or in the United States. It can be global, and I would encourage you to take it global, because all of the 3 projects that we saw today, I think, do have serious potential. And again, I would be delighted to see that succeeding in the technology space. With that said, and again, thanking and congratulating the 3 winners, I would like to say that it was a very tough call for the jury, and it was a very capable jury. I mean, it's the quality of questions that were asked, I think, was really high. I was at a few accelerators and and panels as a judge as well, and I can tell you that this is absolutely world-class level what we saw today in terms of the quality of question and judging as well. But it's been an amazingly close run. It's without much else to say, I would like to say that the second runner-up, who will get a 5,000 on Crystal prize and support again from the Freeton African community, is Oliver with his Smart X project. And let's give him a real big round of applause.
I think the audience, if you're muted, you can use the reactions. Just you can highlight.
Yeah,
you can just use the confetti to show your celebration.
Exactly, send stuff like this or celebrations. Let's really give a round of applause. Oliver, great job, congratulations, and would love to see your project, becoming really big. The first runner-up, and I'll make a little pause as they do in Hollywood when they announce the Oscar winners, and yet a little bit more pause, just let the 2 contestants think and prepare. And it's May Furana with her Agri Drone Tech. Congratulations. Hey. I like when there is drones, artificial intelligence, and blockchain, and what else was there? AI, I mentioned blockchain, drones. It's I mean, it's like you're checking 3 out of 6 exponential technologies. Somebody was speaking about Singularity University here, so they classify those technologies as exponential. So congratulations, very ambitious project and very much needed on the African continent. And then the winner is, of course, Joseph with his IMOC project. Congratulations, Joseph. Amazing job, and your project is like world class. I was watching the presentation and I could see this project being realized in the US or elsewhere in the very advanced blockchain jurisdiction, very blockchain kind of ecosystems. So congratulations, Joseph, on winning the hackathon.
Congratulations.
And so the winner gets 25,000 on crystals. May Farana with her project 15K, and Oliver 5,000 on crystals, which I'm sure would be a good support. Good support to to finance your project. And then again, John, I don't know if you want to say a couple of words whether Freeton African community can support those projects going into implementation and in launch. John, you want to say a couple of words? If you're with us, of course.
Yes. Definitely. We've been looking for the use cases as African self-governance.
For sure, we are going to engage the winners and, of course, enroll them to the academy for those who want to go to the advanced level. And we also talking to the other contestants who did not make it to the final so that we can improve on their projects and definitely be involved in the next hackathon. I think for the winning team, just beyond the prizes, obviously we will support their projects into reality as a Freeton network. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. And over to our hosts.
Thank you so much. We happily congratulate all three winners. And I would say from this point, your journey has just begun. You have not simply won, you have transitioned into a new beginning. So make the impact straight to your vision. At this point, I'd love to welcome Julian Rujanju, the blockchain development specialist at the Rwanda Information Society Authority. Thank you, Julian. Kindly unmute and start your video.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, good morning to some of you. I'm Julien Rujandro, as has been mentioned. I'm in charge of blockchain technology at RISA, Rwanda Information Society Authority. It is my pleasure to be here with you. I'm representing my managers, Dr. Said Ngoga and Esther Nkunda, respectively, heads of innovation and digitalization at Ministry of the ICT and Innovation and at RISA. So they were supposed to attend the event, but they got some obstacles, so some urgent matters which came up at the last minute. So I'm honored to represent them, to represent the agencies and the government in this colorful event. So allow me please to start thanking the organizer, the ABI, for organizing this event and especially to choose Rwanda as the hosting country for this hackathon. The country is honored to host such events, and I think the ABI made a good choice because the country is on a proper ICT journey. We have policies, we have regulations to promote ICT growth and investment, and we have made remarkable progress in the ICT sector. So we are here to all of us to build a strong blockchain ecosystem that will include government, academia, private sector. And here we can mention already the partnership between the Ministry of ICT, RISA, ABI, and the Rwanda Blockchain Association, and more other players coming in the ecosystem. So we have also these international learning institutions that promote research and development, such as CMU, AU, EMS, and we have various incubation spaces in Kigali. You know, most of you have already visited these spaces like West Vela or DSSD, the LIPA, in Homoko. We have so many. And we have an ongoing program to extend these innovation hubs in 6 secondary cities, namely Huye District, Muhanga, Nyagatare, Rwamagana, Rubavu, and Rusizi. So you understand that there is an ambitious and clear ICT vision. And when you read some of the government ICT plans in the documents such as NST1 or Rwanda Vision 2050, all of these documents the government has identified ICT as an enabler to economic and social development for the country. Therefore, the government has invested a lot in the ICT skills development. And you young ones, as innovators, you are on the forefront of the digitalization journey that Rwanda and Africa in general has started. As mentioned in those documents, which highlights the government's vision in terms of ICT, if you have got a chance or a time to go through those documents, there are so many proposed solutions, use cases, and initiatives to be implemented to turn Rwanda into a paperless, a zero-trip, and a cashless country. And this will be extended, of course, through your contribution to all other African countries. So we rely heavily on your expertise, your innovative and developing solutions and skills that will allow Africa to become an innovative continent. So the Ministry of ICT and Research appreciates very much the hard work that you have accomplished during your hackathon incubation program, because when we look at your projects, your solutions, we see not only blockchain there, we see a combination of the emerging technologies such as IoT, AI, and blockchain that when they are combined, they solve most pressuring challenges that Africa is facing in various sectors, including education, agriculture, health, and so on. So we are committed to keep working with you, innovators, to digitalize and innovate, not only Rwanda, but the whole Africa. When ABI informed us about this program of awarding ceremony today, we were very excited to be represented. And allow me to share with you a good event that we had yesterday of another blockchain news. We, as a country, Rwanda, launched yesterday a blockchain project called Ubutaka. Ubutaka, this is a Kinyarwanda name, which means land. And simply the name comes because it is a project which was designed to develop a system that will register land transfer through public key infrastructure, PKI, for identification and save now the cryptographic records on blockchain for proof of existence. So this is a program of the land institution at Alamoa, together with RISA, but in partnership with a private company, MLT. It is a pilot phase which was launched yesterday, 28th April. So it will end on 27th July 2021. So as I said, we have the main technologies we have there are mainly blockchain, which is a non-repudiation technology that will increase data traceability, transparency, and immutability of land records, and most importantly, prevents fraud in land transaction. And the system has another technology of digital signature, which is a public key infrastructure, PKI, This will be used by land notaries and registrars of land title to authenticate themselves, to approve and validate land transaction. So they will have to sign in digitally. And another technology which is there is the biometric fingerprint, whereby seller and buyer can physically present to notary's office, and then they will have to fingerprint their fingers for just authentication and identification. So this is a very good project, very promising project. Still, it is in the pilot phase. So we'll need to associate you guys in this project to ensure that we come up with a fully innovative blockchain land system, whereby seller and buyer will be able to make land transactions without visiting any government office. So we know, as you know, that's the purpose of blockchain, by removing all these third parties. Notary, land registrar should not appear anywhere in land transaction. So this is the ultimate goal of the project, and all together with your contribution, we will accomplish this. So you understand that when it comes to the emerging technologies, especially blockchain, most of African countries, including Rwanda, we are still a green market for blockchain development. We have a lot to do together in the journey ahead of us. So we look forward to your contribution, we look forward to your partnership, and again, we thank you very much for your innovative projects, your solutions which are very promising, and we look forward to a good collaboration through this digitalization journey. If there is any question, you can easily ask either on the chat or even on my contacts. As I said, I work for RISA and the Ministry of ICT are in charge of the government digitalization agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your remarks and for your time as well. At this point, I'd love to invite the next speaker to share the vote of thanks. That is Young Austin, a member of the Africa Sub-Governance team from Freetown. Thank you, Young. Please unmute and proceed.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Austin, Young TYC. So let me start by saying this. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Right now marks the conclusion of the first of its kind of hackathon between Freetown and ABI. So it's been an expository journey so far for the Freetown African community, which has given us much broader view in terms of blockchain solutions within our continent. With the explosive tractions we are currently witnessing around the blockchain technology in Africa, what the Freetown network has to offer both technologically and community-wise, I would like to call this hackathon a timely marriage made from heaven. So to other participants that could not reach this stage, your efforts are really, really recognized. And we urge you all to stay tuned, to please stay tuned for the upcoming hackathon. So to our winners, we celebrate you all and remind you once more that your journey to further build your ideas starts now. So from the Freetown Africa and Freetown Global community, motion has been put in place to further support you all. So I want to thank the ABI on behalf of Freetown Africa for availing themselves for this great hackathon. We look forward to the next hackathon, and to all the speakers, we say a big thank you. We truly, truly appreciate you all. Thank you, everyone. From Freetown, we love you all. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Austin. At this point, I'd love to say one more thank you to each one of you who has stayed tuned right from the beginning to the end of the program. It's been an exciting session, I would say, simply because we've begun something new. We have forged relationships. We have seen the projects and the products that are underway. And you've had the amazing and outstanding speakers just sharing their insights. So to each one that's especially on the building journey, my affirmation to you is that you are not alone. I can now happily close this by saying that I have been honored to be your MC and part of the host today, Roslyn Wanjiro, faculty at the Africa Blockchain Institute. And from here henceforth, we are blockchain ready. So please go make your impact and let's meet at the next hackathon. Thank you so much. Much love from Kenya.
Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much.
See you next time.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye, everyone.